African Women in the Diaspora with me, Ngozi Jason. And this is my first episode. This is my first episode. I've been planning this for the last, I think, for almost 3 years. I've been thinking and considering doing a podcast. And finally, I still don't feel ready. I still don't feel like I know everything that I should know to have a podcast, but here I am. I can't keep postponing it. This podcast is for women in the diaspora who are of African descent. So you could be from any part of Africa, Western Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa. It could be from the Arabic part of Africa. You could be from Jamaica, from any country in the Caribbean. You could even be an African American. As long as you're of African descent and you live outside your home country, this podcast is for you. And here, especially if you just moved abroad within the last 5 years. If you just moved abroad within the last 5 years, this is the show for you. Because we know what a culture shock it is to move abroad as an adult. There's so many challenges. There are financial challenges, there are culture shocks, there are immigration issues. So this show is created to help you solve at least some of those problems, if not all of them. We'll try our best to solve some of those problems. And on this show, we're not just going to come and talk and talk and talk. This show is also going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. I don't like to take myself too seriously. So I don't want you to take yourself too seriously either. I want you to come to this show and laugh, maybe even cry. I want you to come here and feel the sense of community. I want you to find a friend on this show. I want you to enjoy this show. I want when you're feeling down, you just think, oh, let me just come and listen to African Women in the Diaspora with Ngozi Jason. That's what I want you to do. I want you to come here, laugh, cry. I want you to come here, be inspired, be motivated, be encouraged, be lifted up. We're going to be talking about 5 different pillars. We're going to talk about mental well being, physical well being, emotional well being, spiritual well being, and financial well being. There are so many questions that women often ask, especially African women ask when we move abroad. So many questions, and a lot of times you don't know who to ask. Sometimes when you ask people who have been there before you, because they've been there much longer than you have, some of their information may be obsolete. So here is a place where we'll seek to answer as many questions as we can, give as many solutions as we can to the problems that women face. We're going to be talking about loneliness. We're going to be talking about how to create a community for yourself in the area where you live, especially if you live in Europe, especially where people tend to mind their business, where the sense of community isn't as strong as it may be back home in Africa. So, like I said, this is my first episode. So, I'm going to just start by telling you my own immigration story. Once upon a time, like we say back home in Nigeria, when we say once upon a time, we say time. So, once upon a time, 3 years ago, in March 2022. Today's date is the 1st of March. This is the 1st of March 2025. So 3 years ago, in March 2022, we left Nigeria. When I say we, I mean my husband and our 2 children. We left Nigeria, we moved to the UK. And a lot of times when people move out of Africa to Europe, Australia, Canada, or America, they move because they want financial stability. But for me and my family, we did not move for financial stability. We already had financial stability. We were looking for much more than that. We wanted so many things. I was just beginning to see myself as a global voice, as a global person, and I needed to reach more people outside my home country. And I felt because there are certain limitations, especially if you live in Nigeria, certain limitations when you want to make global impacts, certain limitations. So I just felt that moving outside Nigeria would help me better. Um, I need to bear with me. There's certain noises that we are hearing and coming from my phone. So I I thought it would serve me better if we lived outside Nigeria. Another reason why we came here because uh, we knew at some point that our children would need to go to school outside Nigeria in their when they got into college, and we didn't want to pay so much for good education for college, even secondary school, because my children were had just entered secondary school when we came here. And in Nigeria, if you want to go to a really good school, you have to pay a lot of money. So we wanted our children to have quality education without spending an arm and a leg on it. So that's one of some of the reasons why we moved here. And there are so many other reasons, but let me not bore you with all the reasons. That's those are some of the two of the reasons why we moved here. And my husband supported us, and we came here. Now I'm not going to tell you that it's been all roses. Excuse me. I'm not going to tell you that it's been all roses since we came here. There's been twists and turns, there've been challenges, so many of them. There've been immigration challenges, there've been financial challenges, spiritual challenges, health challenges, even marital challenges. Now, on this show, I promise you to be my authentic self. I'm going to be myself. Some of the things I say here are things I'm going to be vulnerable and just, be myself here because I want to be relatable to all the women and maybe even the men who come across this show. So yes, we did have a couple of marital issues, and these are some of the things we're going to address going forward on this show. Of course, we've been able to sort ourselves out because we are mature people, we are God-fearing people, and we God has helped us to sort ourselves out concerning our marital issues. So we came here, twists and turns, like I said, challenges all the way, and we're doing our best to sort out the issues. We've sorted out some issues, and there's other issues in front of us we're still working on. So we came here on the student visa. I was a student, and I got my admission letter. No, I got my admission letter on time, but there was a particular document that the school I was going to at that time was supposed to have given me for me to use to apply for a visa. This document did not come. They didn't give it to me until I think a week after the school had started. That's when I got this document. And then we applied for the visa. The visa came, I think, within a month or thereabouts. So by the time the visa came and we're trying to sort ourselves out, we got into the country in March and school started in January. So I was about 2 months late. I was about 2 months late. When I came, as a mother, there were so many things to sort out. We needed to sort out accommodation. We needed to sort out the children's school. I was going to school. I was late to school. So it was crazy. It was crazy. It was one of the most stressful times of my life. When I was going to school in this country, I live in the UK. Have I said that? I live in the UK. When I was going to school in this country was one of the most stressful times of my life. And then about 7 months after I started going to school, I also got a job. I was working part time. I was working for a bank, but I was working from home, thankfully. But when we first came here, just before we moved here, I didn't plan that I was going to go to school. My husband and I, we had talked about it. We came here with a lot of money, and so we agreed I wasn't going to go to school. I was going to focus on my business. Remember, I said this podcast is something I've been thinking about doing the last 3 years. I wish I had started it then while I was going to school. Probably by now, who knows, I would have been like one of the top 100 podcasts in the world. But I couldn't think straight while I was going to school. I couldn't think straight. I had assignments to do, I had projects to do, I had lectures to attend. Oh God, it was really an overwhelming time for me. So my husband and I had agreed that he would be the one to get a job while I stayed at home, focus on my education and taking care of the children. But when we came, if you are abreast with the things happening in the world, you might know that in Nigeria, our exchange rates, our currency keeps getting devalued. I don't know if it's done on a daily basis, but the value of our money when we left Nigeria and it came here, the value had depreciated so terribly. So we're just watching our money become losing value until I just felt okay, let me get a job. And I thought since my husband was busy working outside, then it was better. We both felt it was better. I looked for a remote job. So we kept looking for a job until I found one. The job, working in a bank, the job also was stressful. So imagine a stressful job, stressful school, taking care of children. And note that while I was in Nigeria, like I said earlier, we didn't come here because we wanted to get better financially. We already had financial stability back home in Nigeria. But while I was in Nigeria, I had a car. My husband had a car. I had a driver. I had someone who used to come to my house once 5 days a week, Mondays to Fridays, to clean my house, to cook and clean for me. I had a relative who was staying with me too, who do one or two other things, these little things over the weekend, like on Saturdays, clean the house on Saturdays. That's all she did. Then I had a maid who used to come Mondays to Fridays to cook and clean for us. And my job was it wasn't a stressful job. My job was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So I'll get to work by 9 o'clock, be home by 6 o'clock, and I had the rest of the day to myself to do whatever I wished to do. We were living in our own house, we weren't paying rent. So when we got here, apart from going to school and working, I found that I had to clean, I had to cook, I had to take the bus, things I hadn't done in ages in my country. So all those things took getting used to. Took a lot of getting used to. It wasn't really easy for me. Thankfully, I had already, before we left, I had already started to work on my mind. That's another thing we're going to talk about a lot on this show, mindset. So I had already worked on my mind a lot about, having to do housework and cook and all that. So it wasn't that stressful, but when you add all the other things, it was really stressful. And then my husband, the kind of job he was in, my husband was working at night, which wasn't easy for him at all. It took a toll on our marriage, took a toll on our mental state, coupled with the fact that we don't have any close family or friend around us. I tried to make friends. I joined the local gym, I joined the library. It took some time. Gradually, I've made a few acquaintances, but I haven't really made, someone you really call a friend 3 years after, but so with all those things, there's nobody close to me around me that could say, oh, let me just go to this person's house and go hang out. So it was just me, myself, and I, and of course the Holy Spirit. So it was really, really tough. And in my discussions with other women, my classmates, I found that I wasn't the only person facing this. Almost, I don't even know if I should say almost, but I think every woman. But I don't want to exaggerate, but everybody I spoke to had at least one of these challenges: loneliness, depression, being stressed up, financial issues, immigration issues, visa issues. At least every woman I spoke to, especially the married ones with children, had at least one of these issues. Like we say in Nigeria, moving abroad, no be beans. it's not it's not your daily cup of tea. Only the strong-hearted can do this. I know many people who came and after a while they left, but this is something that we have made up our minds that we're going to do, and we're going to get successful at it. So we were ready to face whatever challenges that came head on. So now I'm done with school. That's another topic for another day, but I'm done with school. And then September last year, I resigned my job because I wanted to face the things that I needed to do. I needed to do this podcast. I needed to face. I'm a writer as well. Let me see. I have my book here. I'm the author of Mindset Matters. The author of Mindset Matters and Write It. So I wrote Mindset Matters back in Nigeria in 2020, and then I wrote Write It here. I don't know if you ask me now how I was able to write a book while I was going through all I was going through, working part time and going to school full time. I really don't know. But one thing I know is that I got support from three people. Two of them are my coaches, and one of those coaches also doubles as my mentor. And then my assistant. My assistant troubled me every day. She would remind me. Every day she would remind me, Ma, have you done this about your book? Have you done this about your book? She kept bugging me until I wrote this book. I wrote this book in less than a year. I wrote this book, Write It. I wrote it within a few months. I don't really remember how many months it took me, but I finally wrote the book and I published it in 2023. I published it in 2023. I think early 2023, probably January 2023, I published the book. And so that is one of my greatest accomplishments since I came into the UK. Yeah, please don't mind this noise. It's coming from my laptop. I don't know how to sort it out for now, but please bear with me. Bear with me at the noise. The next time, my next episode, I would have found a way to sort it out. But I'm going to upload this video, this podcast, this episode, just as it is, with all the wah sound that's going on. So please bear with me. I promise that next time this noise will be there. I'll find out. It's coming from my WhatsApp messages on my laptop. I'll find out how to stop the noise. So that's my story. So today, I'm a two-time author. I'm done with school. I'm a coach also. Because of my experiences here, I'm helping women of African descent on how to optimize their well-being and personal economy while they are living outside their home country. So that's what this show is about. So please subscribe to this podcast, and then listen and join me for the ride. I'm going to be interviewing guests, women of just everyday regular women, just like you and I. I'll be interviewing them who have women who have achieved any level of success. It doesn't have to be something fantastic, but any level of success. So, if you are a woman of African descent and you live in the diaspora in Europe, in America, in Canada, in Australia, wherever you live, even in Qatar, in the UAE, as long as you're a woman and you're of African descent and you have any level of success, maybe you when you first moved abroad you were depressed, but now you're better. That is success. Maybe you were going to school and you had so many challenges, but now you've finished school. Whether you came out with a level of degree you wanted or not, that's a success. And then you were able to finish school with a very good mark or score or result. That's a fantastic success story. Maybe you moved abroad and within a year or two or even 3 years or even 5 years you were able to buy your own house or build your own house. That's a story. That's a story. You wrote a book while you're living abroad. You were able to bring up your children. Whatever, you had immigration or visa issues and you've been able to sort them out. That's a story. That's a fantastic success story. So if you want to be interviewed on this show and you have achieved any level of success, please feel free to send me a message at ngozijason1 at gmail.com. That's ngozijason1 at gmail.com. Ngozi, that's Ngozi, Jason, Jason, 1 at gmail.com. Send me a message, an email, and then we'll call you and then take it from there. So today it's a Saturday, and I was supposed to do this podcast, my first episode, second week in March, but I just felt I should just come and just do it. Just do it, because the more you do something, the better you get at it. I almost gave up about starting this, but I just felt it's time. It's time. This is something I've been putting off over and over and over again for 3 whole years. 3 whole years. So, but it's time to just do this and then get it out there. It doesn't matter how it looks. I know that in the next 1 year, when I look at this video, I might cringe, but it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. What matters is that there's action. That's what matters. I want to encourage African women anywhere in the world, wherever you are, don't play small. If you get is it a feeling or a picture of yourself doing something fantastic, don't ask yourself and say, wow, me, how can I do this? I don't have what it takes. I don't have the money. I don't have the people. I don't have the materials. No, whatever that picture is, just write it down. Quickly write it down so that you don't forget. It's easy to forget. You know how many times I've written something, I've thought about something to do and I forget. Sometimes I will write it down. Let me just tell you, kid, don't tell anybody else. Don't tell anybody. All right. I, Madam, write it. I wrote a book called Write It. I'll write down something I'm going to do and then I forget. I'll forget. So, but it's better to write it than not to write it at all. So, whatever you want to do, whatever that dream is, have a book. I have a book. Let me get it. I have a journal. It's my own journal that I published as well. This is what I use. You can get any journal. You can just get a regular notebook. Anything you want to get, just get it and use. Some people have different journals. I used to use one journal for everything, but I found out that it's better to use different journals. I have a journal that I use when I'm studying my Bible. I have a journal that I use to write down my dreams, the things I want to achieve. I don't know, this earpiece keeps falling off. So you're going to see a lot of things that you would not normally see in other people's on other people's shows, but I'm going to upload this just as it is. I'm not going to edit anything. I'm going to upload it like that. Okay, I want to make this thing as easy as possible for myself. I want you to see all the mistakes I made my first episode, and I want you to laugh. I want anybody watching this show to laugh. I want anybody watching this show to have a good time, to enjoy themselves. Don't take yourself too seriously. Like they say in Nigeria, problem no dey finish. Problem no dey finish. So just do it. Just laugh. Just be happy. Forget your problem for a little bit. For a little bit and just laugh, have a good time. I want you to see me as your friend. We're going to build a community from this show. We're going to build a community and we're going to uplift one another. This is not just a show, it's a conversation. But it's not just a conversation, it's a movement. I want to start a movement of women of African descent in the diaspora doing great things. I want to hear of women becoming mayors, becoming members of parliament, maybe even becoming prime ministers and presidents, maybe governors. I want to hear stories of women in the diaspora, more and more stories, because those things are already happening. But I want this show to propel you, to motivate you, to push you, to move you into doing big things according to what you've been called to do. Because everything is big. Not all of us have been called to take political offices. Not all of us have been called to be CEO of Fortune 500 companies, but big things according to what you've been called to do. Maybe you want to write a book and you want your book to be an Amazon bestseller or a New York Times bestseller. These are big things. We want to see more African women or women of African descent doing great things, not just in their countries, but in their adopted countries as well. And I want this show to be my own contribution in helping women do those things. Challenges will come, definitely. Challenges will come. Sometimes those challenges will come such a way you're wondering, what's going on? What's going on? I can't take this anymore. I can't take this anymore. But be strong. Look for somebody That's another thing for I want to achieve with this show. Look for someone in the community. Come to the community. Tell us what your issue is. We're going to encourage you. We'll proffer solutions. We'll give you answers. We'll pray with you. We'll pray for you. We'll stand with you. We'll cheer you on as you move to do that thing that God has laid in your heart to do. That is what I want to achieve. And if I can do that for two, three, four, five women, then I'll be happy. I'll be glad that I'm doing what God has called me to do. And we'll be doing this while we enjoy ourselves. Maybe who knows, we could have hangouts in different parts of the world. Whether I'm there or not, we can have women who listen to this show can have hangouts and meet and just enjoy ourselves. We can have conferences and we can call people. We can call experts in their different fields, doctors, real estate people, publishers, whatever. People who are experts who can help us achieve our dreams better and faster. These are the things that we want to do. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Have I forgotten something else? Have I told you I have two children? Yes, I have a son and a daughter. My son is 13 and my daughter is 11. And raising African children in Europe is also not beans, because back in Africa we're allowed to give corporal punishments to our children. We can tell them to kneel down. We can spank them. We can flog them. But here you can't do that. So we have to look for ways of punishing them without, using the traditional African methods. So it's living in the UK has made me think outside the box. I believe that if I were still living in Nigeria, I would never have decided to be a podcaster. The thoughts may cross my mind, but I'm sure most likely I wouldn't have gone ahead to do it. Living in Nigeria, maybe I wouldn't have written my second book at the time that I did. My coaching business, I started my coaching business back in Nigeria, but I couldn't give it attention. But coming here, I resigned my job in Nigeria. I was working in the oil and gas sector back home in Nigeria, doing very well, and I couldn't focus on my coaching business. So, and I came here, I got another job, which I didn't plan to. So, after leaving the second job, I just made up my mind that this is something I need to do. I need to focus. I need to give my coaching business, my writing, my podcasting, I need to give it all the attention that I should give it, so that I can affect as many people as God has called me to affect. So, if there's anything that you want to do, if there's anything that you want to do, and you're too scared to do it, this is the show for you. Come here. We'll inspire you. We'll motivate you to go and do that thing. Like we also say back home in Nigeria, the people that are doing this thing, they don't have two heads. So if they are normal human beings like you, and they have one head, two eyes, one nose, one mouth, just like you, then, and they are doing these things, then why can't you do it? You can do anything you set your heart to do. And I found that a lot of times when you want to do something big, you will have great challenges before you. Everything in you and around you will want to stop you with screaming, no, 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 don't do this, don't do this. Ignore all the naysayings that your body and your mind may be telling you, and just focus and do those things. I'm going to be teaching you how to use tools like visualization, meditation, journaling, prayers, because prayer is a tool. Many people don't know, but prayer is a tool. Prayer is not just something that religious people do. Prayer is a tool. You must know that anything big you want to do will require some divine intervention. You must know that anything big you want to do, you can't just do by yourself. You will need some divine help. So we're going to also teach you how to listen to your spirit, how to hear. Some people call it intuition. I call it the spirit man or the spirit woman, as the case may be. So you need to know all that. I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited. Despite all the mistakes I've made on this video, on this podcast, I've made so many mistakes. I've I know I've made so many mistakes. And I think I'm not using a script. I'm just talking. I'm not using a script. But this is my immigration story. This is my immigration story. This is what I want to do for this podcast. Join me on this ride. Follow me. Let's go there. Let's go there. Let's see where this is taking us. Although I have a great idea of where this is taking us, but let's do it together. Let's have fun together as we do the great things and the big things that God has called us to do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, mindset matters. Perception is everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.